And a very good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. My name is Sandy Elson, and on behalf of the travel professional community and homebasedtravelagent.com, I want to welcome all of you to today's webinar, which I know you'll find very interesting. Our webinar today is being given by our good friend Jeff Millar, whom most of you know from the travel professional community. Jeff and his wife own Ultimate All-Inclusive Travel Incorporated. Jeff's topic today is Websites 101. What are they and what should they be doing for you? And we certainly thank Jeff so much for sharing his extensive knowledge and expertise with us. Jeff Millar has spent 45 years, gee, Jeff, you don't look that old, in senior
Yeah.
sales management involved in the data processing industry with such companies as Control Data, Boeing, and the data processing division of Chase Manhattan Bank, retiring as vice president of sales for them. In 2003, Jeff started a travel agency along with his wife Sharon, a travel agent and agency manager for 28 years. Jeff and Sharon grew their business into a multi-million-dollar agency over 15 years through the use of a number of websites, the internet, and specialization. Their efforts resulted in generating over 150 leads a week and have been instrumental in growing their agency business to the level it is today. Before we get started, please remember that you are all muted, but we welcome your questions. You can type in your questions at any time in the question area you see on the right-hand panel of your screen. At the end of Jeff's presentation, we'll get to as many questions as we can. So I'm going to turn the microphone over to Jeff so he can get started. Welcome, Jeff. It's great to see you, even virtually.
Thank you, Sandy, and it's great to be here, and good afternoon, and actually good evening to some of you. I just want to start out by saying what we're going to cover today is not technical. It's going to be from an agent viewpoint and what you can use your website for, some of the major points that need to be included when you do a website or when you modify your website, how to get your website on the internet, and some points on how to advertise your website. Because I always tell people, you can have the best website in the world, but if nobody can find it, it doesn't really matter how good your website is. So I just wanted to cover that we're not going to spend time and teach you step by step how to build a website. We're going to go over the how points and how to use a website, how to advertise a website, how to get it on the internet, and the things that you can use your website for. So let's begin. And first of all, Sandy did an excellent job going over who we are. We specialize, we sell two products. We sell all-inclusive resorts in Hawaii. And we use the internet, social media to generate leads, but the websites are the hub of our business. We use a marketing strategy where we use social media, we use listing services, but we use those to drive traffic to our website. And the websites do what I call the heavy lifting for us. So that's basically the business model we use. I've been involved in websites since about 2002 in developing websites and working with people to develop websites. So I have a very good understanding of websites and how they can be used. And as she says, we develop about 50 to 150 leads a week, depending on the time of the year. And all those leads are generated from our websites. The first thing we need to do is, and this is critical, and it's what the number one thing on your homework is, if you are going to develop a website, or if you have a website that you're going to change, whatever you're going to do with it, you have to sit down and determine why you need a website. What do you want that website to do? Because a website can do multiple things, and depending on what you want the website to do, that's going to have an impact on the look, the design, and the content of your website. So this is critical, is you have to really sit down and think about, what do I want my website to do? I maintain that everybody needs a website. And the reason is a website in today's world is your electronic business card. And why is that important? Is because clients will think if you don't have a website, in the back of their mind, they're going to think, well, is this really a legitimate business? Because they don't have a website. So you really need a website, whether it's a very simple website or a very complicated website. You need to have some sort of website. And it can be used as an electronic business card. It can be used as a business brochure that you send potential clients to. It can be used as a private group page. I know a lot of people that throw up a one-page website for a group, and it gives a place for all the people in that group to congregate. They can exchange ideas. Another thing that I've seen on there is how many people have had groups, and one person in that group says, well, I found this for less over here. Wouldn't you rather they bring that up on that private group page that you can control, rather than just sending an email to everybody in the group that they found it over here for less money? So it's a way to control the group. It's a way to post things to keep people excited about the group. Very similar to developing a Facebook page for groups, but you do it with a one-page website. A site can be used to generate leads. It's a great way to generate leads, because unlike Facebook, and we do both, but unlike Facebook, when you use a site to generate leads, you are getting clients that are ready to buy something. Whether it's from you or from somebody else, they're ready to buy something. Versus the Facebook theory that you stay in front of somebody until they're ready to buy something. So if you use your website to generate leads and you use the internet to generate leads, the search engines, then you're getting people who are interested in buying something from somebody. You can use it as a booking engine or pricing. I do not recommend doing that for two reasons. Number one, as soon as you start putting a booking engine on your website, you become just like Expedia and the other OTAs. You become a pricing source. And that's all you become, is people will go on there, look at that price, and say, well, I can find it over here for less. They'll leave, and they'll go and book it somewhere else. The other thing is it does not allow you to use what the product is that you really sell. And that is you, your knowledge, your experience. If you're just a booking engine, you never have a chance to talk to these people to use those elements. And as we all know, and those that have attended my presentations know, that we do not sell travel. We sell ourselves, we sell our knowledge, and we sell our experience and our service, and we provide travel. So if you have a booking engine or pricing, you're going to compete against Expedia, and you're not going to win again that game. Or do you really want those types of clients? And again, it doesn't allow you to use the main selling tools that you have at your disposal. Web pages to promote products. This is kind of a new thing that's come on now, and it's basically developing a one-page web page that either promotes a product, directs somebody somewhere else, but it's an inexpensive way and a good way to generate interest to get somebody to do something. And they're called landing pages. And people develop one-page landing pages that instruct the people to do what they want to do. That's becoming more and more popular. It's less expensive. It costs probably $200 or $300 to develop a landing page versus it could be up to $5,000 to develop a whole website. So landing pages or single web pages are becoming very, very popular nowadays. Now, what we're going to do is, once you've decided what you want that website to do, there's some basic rules, design rules of a website. I'm not going to teach you how to build a website, but we're going to go over the design rules that have to be in every website that's out there. And we're going to first start about the layout and the content. My bugaboo is trying to sell multiple products on the same page. And I'll tell you why. You need to have either a separate website or a separate page for each travel product you sell. And that has to do with the search engines. The search engines are looking for websites with unique, relatable content. And the key word we're dealing with on this point is relatable. And that's relatable to the search term that somebody puts in. What I mean is, if somebody puts in, I'm searching for all-inclusive resorts, and they find a website, they go to that website, and that website starts talking about cruises, well, that's not relatable content that's relatable to that search term. I see so many where I go on the home page and they're selling 5 different products on the home page. We'll get into it later, but first of all, your home page should not be used for selling products. That should be used for selling the most important thing, which is you. But if you can't do a separate website for each product, you should at least have a separate page that people can go to, and it's going to help you with the search engines, because if you send, say, all-inclusives, and you have one page that covers all-inclusives, and you send those people to that page, now that content is relevant to the search term they put in. But if you, like I say, if you go to a page and that page is selling, say it says 75% of it is cruises and 25% of it is all-inclusive resorts, it's not going to get a high ranking with the search engines, because only 25% of that page is relatable to that search term that was put in. So if you can, use a separate website or a separate page for each product you sell. I'm going to talk about a thing called above the fold. It's an old newspaper term. If you look at a newspaper, it's folded in half, and the top part of that is the information that is most important for that newspaper to get out. It's what you want the client to see. It's the top story. It's all the information they want is above the fold. How that relates to websites, above the fold is what the client can see before they start scrolling down. So as soon as that comes up, what they see, you need to have the most important information on there. What do you want that client to do? How do you want to do it? How's the navigation? That's what's important, and that you want above the fold. Phone numbers should be prominently displayed on each pages, and this drives me nuts. I was on a website last week, and it took me 5 minutes to find the phone number. I finally found it under the About Us section. If your reason for this is to have clients contact you, why would you want to hide your contact information somewhere? Have your phone number prominently displayed on each page. Because I guarantee you, if it took me 5 minutes to find that phone number, if I were somebody and I went on a website and I said, yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for, I want to contact these people, they're going to spend about 10 seconds looking for that phone number. If they don't find it, they're going to go to another site. So make sure your phone number is prominently displayed on each page and how that client can contact you. I know it's nice to put it under contact us or something else, but don't do that. Use the space to display your phone number. The other thing on every page of a website is people browse. They do not read. Use bullet points where appropriate. And what I mean, again, I look at websites all the time just so I can get ideas. I was on one where I started reading the home page, and I scrolled and I scrolled and I scrolled and I scrolled and I scrolled. I went down probably 2 feet, or what I would consider about 10 pages, before I got to the bottom. And it read like a book. Well, I'm not going to read that. People do not read. So what you need to do is either use bullet points, or if you're going to write a paragraph, highlight or put in bold that one point in that paragraph that you want the person to remember. It's kind of like when we were in college and you had that yellow highlighter and every paragraph had a point that stood out and you went and highlighted that point in every paragraph. Same thing here. Highlight the information you want the people to have. Get rid of those other superfluous words and get them to the meat of the information for those people that you need. So again, they will not read, and I know it's been proven to everybody. How many times do you send an email to somebody that all it says, it says it includes transfers, and you get an email back, oh, okay, I like that price, but does that include transfers? Same thing on a website. They aren't going to read it. So you need to use bullet points and you need to highlight the main point that you want them to see. Avoid certain colors. I mean, it's nice to take our websites and make them all fancy and psychedelic, and don't do that. Use pleasant, soothing colors, and make sure the colors you use allow the content to be readable. How many websites have you seen where they have this nice light background and they thought it'd be fancy to put white letters? Well, the white letters blend into the background and you can't read them. So make sure it's readable. Things like if you want to excite people, you use red. If you want people to give them a nice calm feeling, you use blue. So there are certain colors that are going to dictate the mood that that person is going to react when they look at your website. So avoid certain colors, purple, things like that. You don't need to, I use greens, reds, and blues mainly on our website. And there's actually people out there that web designers have people on their staff, but that's all they do is they study colors and what colors to use where. So color is very important when you're designing, and it doesn't have to be fancy and things flashing, and you don't want to distract from the information you're trying to tell the people. Menu across the top. Use submenus. I looked at a website recently. It had 3 rows of menus on there. Don't put 3 rows of menus. Have a menu button for 3 or 4 items, and if other menus are relatable to one of those buttons, put them on as sub-buttons to those buttons. And you've seen it where you have 4 buttons and you go up, you put the cursor over one button, and it'll bring up 14 sub-menus on that. Do it that way. Don't put 14 different menus on the top of your website. And again, booking engines. We talked about that. And believe me, I know from experience, I've done booking engines. You aren't going to get a lot of leads from them. All you're going to become is a pricing source competing with Expedia. They tell you, oh, well, people can go on and they can book every, at midnight when you're not there. And well, guess what they're doing? They're not booking at midnight. They're on checking prices and who has the lowest price. And then they're going to go book when they find the lowest price. So what happens, you just become a pricing source. And again, it eliminates you using those sales tools that are available to you as a travel agent, your knowledge, your experience, your service. You are selling you. Again, you're not selling travel. You're selling you and you're providing travel. Remember, again, that's what I said right in that page. And pages are not travel. That I looked at and I studied websites and I said, okay, what pages on the website do we get the most traffic from? And pages that were not related to travel but get the most traffic, that we get the most traffic from, are the About Us page and reviews. A lot of the millennials now, that's the first page they will look at is the reviews. When they go to any website, the first page they'll look at is reviews. So if you don't have reviews on your website, put them there. Also, having all 5-star reviews is not necessarily the best thing, because not everybody is going to satisfy everybody 100%. But what you should have is you should have a space where you can go on and answer that review to say, oh, yes, yep, we did this and we this, or this is incorrect, or whatever you need, where you can respond to that review. We do one other thing is we actually, with our websites, our reviews go to a database, and I have to review them before they actually get posted to the website. But it's an important page, is reviews and the About Us section. Like I said, other than the travel-related one, those 2 pages by far got the most traffic of anything on our website. Here's another excellent, important thing, especially in today's world, is websites must be readable by multiple mobile devices. First of all, you need to have a mobile copy of your website. It has to be read by a mobile device. In the old days, by meaning a couple of years ago, they had basically a format they used for every mobile device, for a mobile device, and that was the format you used. Now there's software out there that will actually recognize the mobile device that's accessing your website and it will format the content to fit that particular mobile device. So if you came in on an iPad, you'd see the information formatted one way. If it came in on an iPhone, it would be formatted a totally different way. If it came in on some other phone, it would be formatted totally. So it is able to recognize the mobile device, the actual mobile device that's accessing it. And I'll tell you why this is important for a number. First of all, we keep statistics on people that access our website. 68% of the people that access our website access it from a mobile device. So if you are not mobile friendly, you are eliminating 68% of your potential clients. So that's critical. The other thing is, starting very soon, the search engines are going to start giving you negative marks if you are not mobile friendly, which means that your rankings are going to go way down if you're not mobile friendly. So those are the main two reasons, but you need to be able to be accessed by mobile devices. The other point is, on any website, whatever page they go on, you have less than 30 seconds to capture someone's attention with your website. The first point that brings up that's critical is your load time of your website. How many times have you gone on a website and you're sitting there waiting for it to load, waiting for it to load, waiting for it to load? The biggest culprit that causes that is pictures and videos. So be careful use pictures and videos. Those are important, but be careful, because to a certain extent, they're going to distract from your load time. And if you think 30 seconds is not a long time, sit in front of your computer and go 1001, 1002, 1003. Your website, by standard, should load in less than 5 seconds. And that's loading. That's not the capturing your attention. But again, that's why that above the fold is so important, because when somebody gets to your website, you have less than 30 seconds to capture their attention, to make sure that they're going to stay there, to make sure that they're going to peruse your website, maybe go to another page, or they're not going to, what they call in the industry, bounce. They're going to hit your website, that's not what I want, and they leave. And that's something we'll talk about later when you're tracking things. It's called bounce rate. And that is when people come on your website, they stay less than 10 seconds and they leave. That goes against your bounce rate, is what it's called. The other thing with the search engines, original, unique content, usable, unique, relative content. And again, relative is relative to the search term that people put in. So again, you don't want to put in all-inclusive resorts and then have them go to your website and go to the page where it talks about cruises, because that's not relevant to the search term. And every search engine has an algorithm. And what they do is they have a weighted algorithm with a whole list of things. And based on that weighted algorithm is going to have an effect on where you get ranked within that search engine. And the number one thing is unique, relative content. What do I mean by unique? Is that don't go to other websites and copy what they have and paste it on your website. That is an absolute no-no, especially I've seen search engines actually kick websites off for doing that too much. You don't want to copy somebody else's website. And there's software out there, and they use it, and you can use it. There's software out there that you can actually go and they say, I want to analyze this page, and it'll analyze it, and it'll tell you where there's content on that page and how many other websites are using that exact same content. So that's what the search engines use, and that's what you should use. So you want original, unique, usable, relative content, and that's the number one criteria in that algorithm that the search engines use. Another one is, and it's further down the list of their criteria, is links to your website. You get ranked higher by having more links from other sites to your website. Now, linking to other websites, it's debatable, because the problem you run into is if you send somebody from your website to another website, their chances of coming back to your website are probably slim to none. So be careful of linking away from your website, but it's always good to have links from other websites coming to your website. That's going to establish your position with the search engines a lot more. Some of the other things that are more minor or amount of traffic your website receives, how long your company's been on that particular search engine, but there's a whole list. And we're going to talk about it when we get to SEO, because SEO is search engine optimization, where you're optimizing your website to be shown at a higher placing on those particular search engines. But those are just some of the things that you need to really be aware of when you're designing a website. How do I track and analyze my traffic? First and foremost is Google Analytics. Everybody that has a website should go to Google, and if you go to the bottom of the page, you can sign up for Google Analytics. Google Analytics will give you things like how many people came to your website, what search terms did they use to come to your website, how many pages did they look in your website, how long did they stay on your website. Another critical thing that I mentioned was bounce rate. Bounce rate is when somebody comes in, spends less than 10 seconds and leaves because it's not what they were looking for. Bounce rate is critical. And actually a good bounce rate, and it may be surprising, but a good bounce rate is 40% or less, which means that 40% of the people that came to your website left immediately because it wasn't what they were looking for. But if your bounce rate is high, it means something is causing that person to come to your website and not seeing what they're looking for. That may be, again, is because you sent them to a page, they put in all-inclusive, and you sent them to a page for cruising. Well, they're going to leave because that's not relative to the search term they put in. So Google Analytics, everybody should have that. No matter what else you have, everybody should have Google Analytics. It's very easy to sign up for. So go now. If you have a website, sign up for it. You don't have to be listed on Google. You just have to put your website in and you fill out some information and you get reports, and you can go on and see those reports that give you all this information relative to the traffic to your website. It's not going to tell you what's going on within your website, but it's going to really analyze down to the nth degree the traffic that comes to your website. I use a software that you can be embedded in your thing. It's called Crazy Egg. What Crazy Egg does, it analyzes the traffic within your website. And one thing it's really helped us on that you wouldn't think of is we have photos on our website. Some are clickable, some aren't. But we had one at the top, and we noticed that people were coming in, and one week we had 50 people that clicked on that photo, even though it didn't take you anywhere. So we said, oh, okay, well, maybe we need to link that. That photo seems interesting to people. Maybe we need to link that to something. So we linked that photo. So it gives you that information. It tells you where they go through your website. And one thing is, you will find most people do not enter your website on your home page. If you're listed with the search engines, you're going to give them a list of search terms you want to be listed, found under, and what you do is you tell them what page do you want them to enter on. So don't just automatically send people to your home page. Send them to the page that's relative to the search term that you want to be found under. We have a page on family all-inclusive resorts. So when we say, okay, we want to be found under this search term, family all-inclusive resorts, and we want them to enter our website on the family all-inclusive resorts page. So they don't always have to go to your home page when they enter your website. And there's website evaluation software. One of them is called Site Evaluator. What it does, you put your website in, and it's usually free. You put your website in, and it looks at the criteria that a search engine will look at and the statistics they want, like how fast does it take your website to load? How does this happen? How does that happen? How many links do you have that are broken? That's another big thing, is the search engines hate broken links. How many links are broken? And it's going to come back and it's going to be a grade for each one of those points. And it's going to tell you, it's going to be just like school. It's going to be A, B, C, D, and F. as far as each one of those points. So you can evaluate your software and make corrections where they need to be corrected, and it's going to help you with the search engines. And there's other monitors. There's a ton of them out there, monitoring software. But it's not good enough just to drive traffic to your website. You have to analyze that traffic. Analyze your website to make sure it's doing what you want it to do. Analyze the traffic to make sure you're attracting the right traffic or how you're attracting traffic. So those are the things that I use to evaluate our website. Plus the fact that we do with our advertising, I have a company that handles our advertising for us. So do all our advertising. We do mainly pay-per-click advertising. We'll talk about that, and listing service, online yellow pages, and we use 75 different listing services. But it all drives traffic to our websites is what we use those for. We do very little selling on social media. We do very little selling on the listing services, but we drive traffic to our websites, or we drive traffic to have them pick up the phone and call us. Now, how do you promote your website? Because first of all, again, you can have the best website in the world and the nicest looking website in the world, but if nobody can find it, it doesn't make any difference how great your website is. So there's a number of ways you can do that. First one is paid advertising. And with the search engines, paid advertising consists of it consists of a whole bunch of things, but the two main ones are pay-per-click and banner ads. Pay-per-click, what that is, if you put in a search term and you bring up a page on, say, Google, it will have some ads at the top, then it'll have a very thin blue line, and it'll have some more ads below that blue line. The ones above the line are pay-per-click or paid advertising. The ones below the line are what are called organic search, or how the search engine is ranking your website. Banner ads are just, you see them all the time. They look like a banner and they advertise something. That's what a banner, you click on that and it takes you to somebody's website. Those are banner ads. The other way to be found is SEO, search engine optimization. What that is that says what I'm going to do is, understanding the algorithm the search engines are going to use, I'm going to go in, or I'm going to hire somebody to go in and optimize my website. And what you're trying to accomplish is to move your website up. Really, the main goal that people try to accomplish is get it moved up for that search term, get it moved up to page 1. Because statistics will show that 80 to 90% of the people that search on the internet will not go past page 1. They'll find something that they want on page. So that is the ultimate goal. Hard to achieve, but it's the ultimate goal. SEO, one thing I will tell you do not do is, you get, and I get them, I get calls that say, we can get you listed on the first page. Yes, you can, but you can do it for free. And what they're really saying is, if somebody, for us, Ultimate All-Inclusive Travel, if somebody types in the search term, Ultimate All-Inclusive Travel, we should come up on the first page. Well, you don't have to pay somebody to do that. If you register your site with the search engine, then you're automatically going to come up on the first page. So don't fall for that when people say, we can get you listed on the first page for this. That's really what they're talking about. But search engine optimization is expensive and it's hard. And it's basically hiring a company, and they continually go through your website, because what happens, the search engines, that the criteria that they use, they'll change that every 6 months. So what's good 6 months ago may change in this 6 months. So what they're doing is going through and they're understanding that criteria in detail, and you're paying them to modify your website to conform to that criteria, so you're ranked higher than other ones. The other thing when you're doing SEO, don't put in search terms like travel agent. And I'll tell you why. Travel agent, if you put that in as a search term, it will bring up, and the last count I had was 25,640,000 websites that are related to travel agents that people can go to. So if you're competing with that for the search term travel agent to get on the first page, good luck with that, because that's not going to happen. But that's what SEO is search engine optimization. That relates to those organic searches that are below that blue line. And those you don't control other than using SEO, but they're ranked by the search engines. And that's how you get listed in those. They also do a thing called web crawling. Is at night they will go out and they'll look at various websites and they'll look at pages and they'll look at the content. Is it related to the title on the page? And they'll do their own rankings based on certain search terms that maybe you hadn't thought of. I mean, we got listed #1 in Google and #1 in Yahoo for all-inclusive resorts with a payment plan. And it wasn't something we put in. That's what the search engine during their web crawling ranked us for that. So that's SEO. Social media, again, we use social media not necessarily to sell something, but to drive traffic to our websites. And then people purchase from our websites. There are people that sell from social media, but what I've done when I've studied this is found more people that sell stuff from social media come from small towns where everybody knows everybody. They're all talking to each other on social media. I see more success in that environment than I do somebody say New York City and they're involved in social media. So we use it, but we use it to drive traffic to our website. You know, if you like what you see, go to our website. And then that website does what I call the heavy lifting. Another thing, there's listing services. A listing service is like Yelp, Manta, online Yellow Pages, those types of services. There's actually 75 of them. So you can go in individually and sign up for all 75, or what we use, it's a company called Yext. And what Yext does is Yext has you fill out, 6 forms, all telling about your business, what your business is, what products do you sell, all that. What they do is they now take that information and they go to these 75 different listing services and they automatically upload all that information to those listing services in the format that they need it in. Because each one of those will have a different format. They do all that for you. So now you want to change something, you just go in and you change your profile in Yext, and it automatically updates all those 75 services in the format they need it in. Yext runs me, it's not cheap, but it's about, I think it's about $900 a year is what I pay for Yext. But again, it saves me from going and signing up with 75 different listing services. Another marketing that we use is email marketing. Again, driving traffic to our website. We use email marketing with our existing client base. And that's clients we've sold to. We have a client base of over 6,000 clients. And that's where we do our email marketing. But within the email marketing, we have about 15 different places in that email. I send out once a month, I send out a travel tip and a promotions email to our existing clients. Within that, there are about 15 different places they click to go to various spots on our website. So again, we use that for existing customers, but again, to drive traffic to our website. And then there's the good old business card. On your business card, you should have your name, your title, your company. You should have your phone number. You should have any websites that you have. You should have your Facebook account. We have one company with 2 divisions. Our all-inclusive division, we have our Hawaii division. We have one business card, and we have the all-inclusive division information on one side and our Hawaii information on the other side. Makes it and that's one of the benefits of specializing is you don't have to come up with marketing information for 50 different products because we only sell 2 products. What does a website cost? People ask me that. You can do, if you look at the last point on there, they can be free up to millions of dollars. Free websites are basically worth what they cost, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. And you get a lot of host agencies can source and give you a free web. What you're sacrificing with a free website is the amount of customization you can do to that website. You can do the less they cost, the less customization you can do to that website. We started out doing the $49.95 a month do-it-yourself website. We started that business. We grew our business to $2 million with that. The problem was was getting beyond that and working with the search engines, because it was a nice website, but they weren't as sophisticated as they could be. The other way where we are now is a webmaster, where you pay someone a fee or an hourly rate to build your website. The other benefit is, if you look at the free websites and the $49.95 a month website, you don't own those websites. You're designing them, but you're basically renting that website. When you have a webmaster design your website, you own that website. So those are the main ways to get websites. Start with the $49.95, see where you go, then move up to the free websites. There may be some people that are successful with them, but usually they do exactly what I say don't do, is put prices and other things on your website that really are going to be just a pricing source. I say free to millions of dollars, because if you look like websites like Expedia has, they're in the millions of dollars. I mean, they have 600 people that do nothing but online advertising, websites, SEO. It's a division of 600 people. That's all they do every day. So you can do free to millions of dollars, but remember, from when you're going for free to millions of dollars, what you're gaining, the higher you go, is flexibility and customization, are the main things that you're gaining as far as cost of a website. Hosting your website, that's another thing, is you can, again, have the best website, but if somebody can't find it, you need to be on the internet. And that's one thing that I want to talk about before we get to hosting is, with Google, you need to register your website with Google. If you go to the bottom of it, there'll be a section in there for agents or whatever, buyers, work with us. There's a button at the bottom of Google, of Yahoo, of those, and you go in and you register your website. That's the same place you go in and you register for Google Analytics. So you need to do that with every search engine, because it doesn't matter where your website is, how it looks. If you're not registered with the search engine, they don't know you're there. So you need to go on and do that with every search engine that you want to be listed on. Now, hosting a website, I'm going to relate this to the real estate industry. There's three main ways that you can host your web. And when I'm saying hosting, I'm not talking about host agencies that host your company. I'm talking about a company that, to begin, we need to kind of understand the basics of the internet. What is the internet? The internet is nothing but a bunch of servers. A server being a box that on the inside it has a hard drive, like a DVD. And on there is websites are on that DVD. Instead of movies, websites are on that DVD. That server is now connected to the internet. And that's all the internet is. There's a whole bunch of servers all over the world that are all interconnected. That's it. That's the internet. So you can get on the internet a number of different ways. The first way is self-hosting. I don't recommend this way, but what it is, you go out and you buy a server, you put your software on it, you connect the server to the internet, and now you're connected to the internet. But you have to maintain it. In real estate terms, that would be like going out and buying a house. Because to be found on the internet, every website has to have an address that somebody goes to. So you have to have a house, or you have to have a domicile that they can go to with an address. So the first one is self-hosting, where you do everything yourself. You buy the server, you connect it to the internet, you put your website on there, and it's now connected to the internet. The other is using a hosting company. What they are, there's 100 of them out there. What they are companies that have rooms full of servers, and they rent out space on those servers that are connected to the internet. That's what a hosting company is. There's two types of hosting. There's shared hosting. What that means is a server can hold, sometimes up to 100 different websites on one server. So what you do is, in real estate, it would be equated to an apartment building. You have one building, but you have 200 or 100 different residences in there. So what you're doing is you're renting an apartment to put your website to have it connected to the internet. The only bad thing about that is if something happens to one of those websites on that shared server and it brings that server down or makes it crash, it's going to affect your website too, because your website resides on that server. So that's shared hosting, again, like an apartment building, and you're renting an apartment in that apartment building. The other is dedicated hosting, which means that they assign you to a server and you basically that server only contains your website or websites. That's all it contains. That would be like renting a house in the real estate business. So you have a house, but what it's giving you now as being on a server is an address where people can find you. If you're not doing one of these things, nobody's going to find you. You're not hosting your website somewhere, nobody's going to be able to find you because you don't have an address. So that's what hosting is about. And there's self-hosting, there's shared hosting, and dedicated hosting. They're the three ways you do it. We use a company, our websites are all word-based built, so we use them as our hosting service. But there's probably 100 hosting services. Some of the things you need to ask them is, what is their average downtime? That's critical, because if somebody, where people bring servers down is somebody has something that's very popular and the traffic overloads that server and the whole server crashes. Well, it's bringing down every website that's on that server. So by doing a shared hosting or dedicated hosting, you're just eliminating some of the risk. I will tell you, shared hosting is probably the most popular way, because the difference between the two is cost. We do dedicated hosting. We have a dedicated server with 2 websites on it, and we spend about $450 a year for that. But we know that no other website is good traffic is going to affect our website by doing that. So that's hosting, which you have to do. That's one of the things you definitely have to have it hosted somewhere, or you'll never appear on the internet. So in summary, let's look at what you need to do. Since there are, and this is kind of the homework section, there's many uses for a website. You have to sit down and decide, what do you want that website to do for you? And then that's going to dictate how you design your website, what it's going to look like, the feel of your website. Everything's going to be, because if you just want to use it for a business card, you don't need a sophisticated website. You maybe only need a 1-page website to use as an electronic business card. The other thing, the design criteria that we went over. Once you decide what website you want, now you have to use that design criteria that we talked about in there. That is the critical design criteria. Everything else works. Remember, pictures and videos slow your website down. So there's a trade-off there that you need to find a good balance. But those are the points that we went over that you need to really look at when designing a website. Paid advertising. If you want to pay for advertising, again, there's pay-per-click, there's banner ads. Pay-per-click is very similar to Facebook when you boost an ad on Facebook. It's doing the same thing, but it's doing it on a search engine. And it is a little more expensive than Facebook charges. But again, I boosted an ad and it went to 12,000 people and I got no business out of it. So it's a trade-off, is that when you do pay-per-click on the search engine, you are attracting people who are in the market to buy something, whether from you or not. So they're in the market to buy something. So they're more qualified. They're one step closer to being qualified than the ones that you generate in Facebook. SEO, again, search engine optimization. It's going to get you listed below that blue line, and depending how well you do SEO or pay somebody to do it, but it is expensive. It also, when somebody makes changes, those changes don't usually kick in with SEO for 6 months. So if you make a change, it's not an immediate thing that's going to boost you. It's going to take about 6 months before you see any effect of that. Links to your website, the more things you can get to link to your website, the better off you are with the search engines. Functionality and cost, based on the functionality, that's going to kind of dictate the cost. The functionality and the customization. We spent about $5,000 each on our websites, But basically, I have a free form entry. Is I can go to a page, I can free form enter what I want, it automatically formats it and posts it on that page. It gives me a space where all my reviews come in. I can look at them and review them before they get posted to the website. So it gives me a lot more functionality and customizability. And hosting, you need to do hosting only because if you're not hosted somewhere, you're never going to be found on the internet. So that's it. I wanted to leave some time for questions, but I mean, this whole thing, really, we could do a whole daily seminar on it, but I wanted to hit the main points to get everybody pointed in the right direction as far as websites are concerned. Websites still sell more business, 3 to 4 times more business than social media does. So it's well worth it. It is a little more expensive, but it's well worth it. And you do that through websites. And again, websites can be one landing page, or they can be ours. If you look at our submenus, has probably each of our websites has 65 to 70 pages on it. So, and we can have people come into our website on any page. They don't have to come in on the home page. Another big point to remember: people don't read. They browse. They do not read. So don't write a book when you're in there. And I'm guilty of that, because I like to talk, I like to write. So I write this and I send it to my webmaster, and he says, I could have said what you just said in 3 sentences. So I said, fine, take care of it and say it in 3 sentences. So that's critical. So those are the kind of the points that are critical as far as using a website. Think about when you're building a website and get it hosted. Okay, if we want to go to questions, we can, because I probably created more questions than answers.
Great. That was absolutely phenomenal information, Jeff. Really, really news you can use. We're going to take a couple of questions because we're almost out of time, and I want to let our agents know that if we don't get to your question, or if you think of something after the webinar is over, Jeff has very generously just let me know that he is going to give everybody his email address, so you can email him with your questions. Jeff, what is that email address?
It's ultimate, ULTIMATE, travel, TRAVEL, 2003 at yahoo.com. And that'll go right to me.
Okay, ultimate travel
2003 at yahoo.com.
At Yahoo. Great, thank you. What is your feeling about co-branded websites, co-branded with a supplier?
That's the same to me. The only one we had any success at was Sandals, and that was back in the day because Sandals didn't allow discounting. Everybody had to sell it at the same price, so you took price out of the equation. Other than that, we had a co-branded website when we first started with Apple and with FunJet. We got no business again because people went to it, but all they did was use it as a pricing source. They didn't really book anything because what they saw was that price, and they said, well, I can get it better over here. And again, the same thing is you're eliminating your expertise, your knowledge, your service. You're eliminating those things out of the whole sales process by doing that.
Okay, great answer. For someone who's interested in more information about hosting, and they have hired a webmaster, would that person generally know about hosting solutions?
Oh yeah, absolutely. They better, or they wouldn't be a very good webmaster if they didn't know about hosting.
And related to that question, what questions do you ask a potential webmaster when you're looking for someone to create a website for you?
First of all, I want to see some of the work they've done. I want to know what industries they've done it for. There's a lot of things that are changing in that. I mean, you see these new websites come on, and I particularly don't like them, where they like to have a picture in the background and the words kind of scroll over that picture. To me, it's very distracting. So, but the key question is, how long have they been doing it? what do they use to, what language do they use to develop the website in? I want to see some examples of websites you've done, and what industries have you done websites for? And do you charge by the hour or by the project? And the last question is, do I own that website once you develop it?
Very important question. We are almost out of time. We have more questions, but we don't have time for them. So again, Jeff has given his email address, ultimatetravel2003
2003
at
at yahoo.com.
yahoo.com, and he is happy to answer your questions. Jeff, this has been phenomenal. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and expertise with all of us. We really got a lot out of it. So thank you for doing this for us.
Not a problem. That's kind of my give back. I want to give back to the industry because it's been very good to me and provided me with a great living. So I definitely, if we don't help each other, we're not going to survive as an industry. That's what I always tell everybody.
No, that's very true. I also want to thank our agents who are on this call for taking time out of your day to attend this webinar. I know you got a lot out of it. So thank you so much, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Are you still there, Sandy?